You know what I think? I think the United States government should nationalize Google and Facebook and TikTok. If they're worried about the Chinese um, running it, what they should do is, if it's got an American branch, ban the Chinese one and create an American TikTok that does the exact same thing. Maybe if not nationalize them, um, license them like the FCC does, as if they're a TV station or something like that. Run them as a public service and have independent politicians, because I know you're going to say you're worried about the government um, brainwashing people. But I mean, who do you want in charge of this? A bunch of right wing fascists? Um, I don't know who's in charge of Google and Meta. I want to say left wingers, because I think it's some kind of neoliberal junta. These people aren't leftists. They're neoliberals, whatever that is. They're very, very wealthy. They're very, very pro capitalism, but they're almost feudalistic in their control of. Now you think that they're the same thing as fascists, but I think they've kind of got almost, kind of socially liberal mores or whatever. But I think they're fucking idiots, and I hate to agree with the nutcase, because I think there are some things that should be taken down. My video was taken down because it said something that it didn't actually say. I don't know what they're doing. I don't even know if they watch it. They said that I was spreading COVID misinformation. And I want to make this clear. I didn't. Basically, what I said was Anthony Fauci was a saint. I agreed that masks worked, that we should have worn masks, that vaccinations was okay. In fact, it was good. I was vaccinated 3 times. Look, vaccinated 3 times. Fucking idiots. They should be arrested. I don't know who's running Google, but I would, if I would send the government. I would send. You can't send the ATF the FP. I would send somebody in and just arrest them all. That's what I do with the people that run Google. I just have them all arrested because they took down one of my videos. This is the thing. They said that I was spreading COVID misinformation. I was not. In fact, the opposite. I said I agreed with the government's policy for the most part. I said maybe is this what I'm getting banned for? I said maybe these lockdowns were a little extreme because people got depressed, and you can see that now again, try to remember that I'm saying for the most part, 90% I agree with what the government did, but the anti-lockdown people or the anti-COVID people, the thing. I'm not saying it's a hoax. I'm saying the exact opposite. It definitely was real. I almost died from it. I got the vaccine. See, I was vaccinated. I may even get a 4th one. I'm looking into getting a 4th one if it's convenient. I'm just lazy. But I've been vaccinated 3 times. Well, it's got my name on it. So, I mean, you're just going to get my name's on it, so. That probably wasn't too smart. Now I'm going to have all the anti-vax. This society has gotten so crazy. I don't even know why they took it down. I said, maybe, if you're out on a beach someplace and you're out in the open, I don't know why they'd shut a beach down. They went a little crazy, I think. But I said, I agree you should have a vaccination pass. If you don't get vaccinated, you shouldn't get a job. You don't have a right to spread a deadly disease. But the emergency's over, and I don't like having those infringements on civil liberties. I understand. This is probably why I got banned. I said the people that are concerned about their civil liberties, they have a definite, legitimate point. Even though I'm for gun control, am I getting banned for this? This is another thing. I don't know why I'm getting banned. Maybe left, right. I'm in the middle on these things. I think the people that are concerned about gun confiscation have a legitimate point. There are governments that do gun control all right, but if you look at Canada now, this guy Justin Trudeau, it was overreach. He decided, well, I'm going to do something that's politically popular, C-21, and I'm going to start taking people's hunting rifles away from them. And that's not the problem. It's handguns coming across the border. And it isn't people that have licensed, registered handguns that are the problem. It's illegal weapons flowing across the border from the United States. Law, I mean, this sounds like the NRA, but in Canada, law-abiding gun owners have to be vetted. They have to get a license. They have to go through training. Restricted weapons have to be registered. You have to take them to a range. You can't hunt with them. Their real magazines are pinned to 5 rounds. I think that's excessive. I think 10 rounds is. But I'll tell you what some countries do in Europe. If you want a 30-round magazine, you have to apply for a special permit. They want to know, what the hell do you want a 30-round? You're going to go out and shoot people? Go, no, I'm a sports shooter. I'm a competitive shooter. I'm a collector. I think I think this is more consistent with the military. Some societies will even let you have a fully automatic weapon, like Lithuania or the Czech Republic. I think even Switzerland, you can get around the ban by applying for a special exemption. But they vet you. They want to make sure that you're not some kook. And I think that's what they should do. They shouldn't ban guns from everybody. What they should do is they should have a licensing and registration process like they do with machine guns now. In Switzerland, their laws are actually more liberal, and they have the lowest crime rate in Europe. You've got to have a license, but if you want a modern machine gun, you can get one. It's actually here it's nothing made after '86. Now, this sounds like I'm pro-gun, but I'm not really. The Czech Republic, you can have a gun, but you have to get training, and they go through a process. They make sure that you have to see a doctor to make sure that you're not crazy. I defer to I mean, I'm sure there's some whack job, egotistical, narcissistic doctors, but we have to have somebody that we trust in power, because the average person is a complete idiot, I think. Maybe not the average person, but there are a lot of idiots out there that are paranoid, that want these guns for the wrong reasons. And a lot of it stems from mental illness or some sort of mental defect. I think a lot of the people that believe in these conspiracy theories are they're stupid. They lack, it's not a matter of ignorance, it's just that they're brainless. And that's why they fall for this. I am very pro-science. I am very pro-vaccine. All I said was, people that are worried about their civil liberties, I used to say, no, let's just live in a police state because we all want to be safe. You got to throw that into the mix. Maybe things will be a little unsafer, but to have the government tell you can't own a gun, like in any state, you got to get vaccine. I think you've got to balance the individual liberty and the public safety. And I'm not saying public safety isn't important. And I'm not saying that individual liberties are important. I think we've lost it. It's either all or nothing. It's either all individual liberty or all public safety. And nobody is willing to sit down and find a rational balance to these things. Yes, people should have been vaccinated. Yes, vaccinations save people's lives. They did. Am I going to get banned on YouTube again for posting this because I'm mentioning COVID? I am pro-science. I am pro-science. All I said was maybe some of these lockdowns were a little excessive. People were a little hysterical about the masks. But for the most part, I think it's best to err on the side of caution. And I I was very cooperative. I always cooperated with it. I was never against it. Um, Towards the end, I got a little tired. It's a pain in the ass. Am I going to get banned for saying it was a pain in the ass? But I did it. And I understood why we were doing it. And I think people that didn't want to do it were selfish and also reckless. They think, I'm young, I'm healthy, I have a good diet, it's not going to affect me. It's just going to affect some old fat diabetic like Bill. And he'll die, and so what? Or grandma will die, or I guess there were measures in some places like Sweden. They concentrated on protecting old people and making sure that they were isolated, or people with diseases, trying to take measures that would protect them. Because the average person, the average young person, this disease was not, they could fight it off. But I think that for the most part, the measures were good, the measures were necessary, and the measures saved millions of lives. Why am I being banned for saying that? All I said was, don't throw civil liberties out about the window on either of these issues. Yes, society needs regulation. Yes, society needs experts to say, look, you're an idiot. This disease is spreadable. You wear a mask to prevent the disease. You're too stupid to realize how important it is. You got to get vaccinated. The vaccines work. Polio vaccines work. And if you don't think so, there's something really wrong with your brain. And maybe you should stay home or live on an island or live with other idiots. And you can spread the diseases to each other. I don't know. And guns, you see these mass shootings, these people shoot their families. It's crazy. But here's the thing. If you look at the people that do this, they're almost always mentally ill or are domestic abusers. They've got a long history they've got a trail of red flags, and nobody ever does anything. In some countries, you're allowed to have a gun, but when these little red flags go off, and I know the government can abuse it, but so what? So what? I think you have to take measures to make sure that the people that make these decisions are wise, they're honest, they're ethical. They're not people that have ego problems or people that are corrupt that want to make money. That's the thing. There are decent people in society. That's why I've become something of an elitist. And you need an aristocracy, not of wealth or inherited wealth, but people that are smart, people that are principled, and people that are fair, and people that aren't obsessed with money and power. Now, that's hard to do that, but you have to do that, because otherwise you just have anarchy. You just have people running, well, we can't ensure that the people that are the gatekeepers are completely honest, so we shouldn't have any gatekeepers. All right, Mexico, Honduras. If you look at like a corrupt society, these laws aren't enforced. There's really no law. It's a lawless society because the people that are enforcing the laws are as bad or are sometimes the same people that are doing the crimes. I can't say anything about that. That's just a mess. I don't know what we do about that. Send the CIA down there to kill all the drug dealers. Now we're gonna get censored for. I'm not saying we should, but that's a possibility. I mean, I'm sure that's floated out. I think we've done that. I think we probably have sent the CIA down there to whack a few of these drug lords. They're lawless. They don't follow the law, and they bought everybody off down there, and they live like kings in these prisons, and they escape. They're basically not in prison anyways. It's a farce. So why not send somebody down there to just whack them? Good old days. I mean, this is the problem. I mean, maybe I'm wrong because maybe this is why I was censored. I said at one time in my life I was a fellow traveler, and I wasn't a communist. I didn't believe in the Eastern Bloc. I think what I wanted was like even what I still want today. I think Sweden and Northern Europe and Western Europe, they're kind of a melange. They're kind of a mixture of capitalism and socialism, liberalism and social democracy, and people have a safety net. and you can't go full retard on the communism, well, otherwise people will starve. But I sympathize with these movements because at least they were trying to make the world fair. But the problem is, look at Venezuela and Nicaragua. They put corrupt people in charge. I mean, really corrupt people in charge. And once they get in power, they're stuck there. So my bad. I was wrong about that. China, uh, they've made incredible progress. It's not communism. It's a state directed form of capitalism. Because and there's still this is the interesting thing is if you read Marxist doctrine, Marx thought that capitalism was incredibly productive. It was incredibly unfair and grinding poverty and injustice. But as far as the productive, what capitalism accomplished was amazing. And I'm going to go into a bad territory here and say um, some of the things Stalin and Hitler accomplished were amazing. V2 rockets, the Autobahn, little Volkswagen, the Messerschmitt 262. Stalin had the T-34 tank and the Il-2, which was the Ilyushin and Sputnik and stuff like that. But at what cost? At what cost? And National Socialism wasn't socialism. And if you look at what Stalin did, it wasn't either. Lenin reimposed the NEP. The NEP is actually more consistent with what Marx was suggesting. He wasn't specific, but is actually more Marxist. What the NEP says is none of these societies are, because he said it was going to happen in advanced capitalist societies. And the most advanced capitalist society was the United States. Germany, Britain, they've all tried some variant of socialism, and they've all become sclerotic. The growth rates have slowed down, incentive, and these societies have kind of ground to a halt when the government sector gets too big. Although Germany's found a nice balance with the social market theory, unions sit on corporate boards. I don't know how much power they have. But gradually transitioning to socialism. Maybe socialism doesn't work, and we just eventually will fully automated gay space communism. It'll be some post scarcity society, and the whole argument between capitalism and socialism will be irrelevant. It'll be some system that we never thought of. But I mean, Leonardo da Vinci was imagining a helicopter 500 years before it was possible. I'm sure people thought he was a nut. I mean, they tried different versions and it didn't work because they didn't have the technology. Simon de Montfort tried a parliament in 1265, and that was a disaster. I think one of the things he did was decide all the Jewish moneylenders be kicked out of London, and then he just threw them out of England, which was really mean. I mean, Cromwell, I think it wasn't until Cromwell they let him back in. Cromwell was mean to the Catholics, but I mean that they tried to kill the was it King Charles? He was Catholic, and then that was the Boyne was later with James. History's very interesting, but back then, I mean, as reactionary as Protestantism, back then Protestantism was the left wing thing. They taught people to read the Bible for themselves. They translated the Bible into native languages, so people didn't have to chant in Latin. They said that you have a direct relationship to God instead of going through an intermediary like a priest. I mean, now evangelical Christians are the most reactionary. But modern capitalism and constitutional liberal democracy.
This is a reminder. Water the plants. This is a reminder. Water the plants.
All right, okay. I don't care if I get kicked off of YouTube. I really don't. Does that mean I can't watch anymore? Does that mean I gotta sneak on and start a new page? Maybe I don't know. I don't know how that works. Maybe I'll find some way to get back on. I don't know. But I will not be silenced because I wasn't even because This is the thing. I was not even breaking their policies. I broke no laws. What I'm really, really angry about is if there was a law and I broke it. Uh-oh. Oh dear. Is my computer going? That's not good. All right. Well, we'll see. This might be it for old Bill. His computer's breaking down. What the hell was that? Oh, wasn't she a cute baby? Isn't it weird that that just would pop up like that? She was such a sweet little kid. Oh, she lives in a $5 million mansion. Look at that little baby in the stroller with the red hair. Looks like a little monkey. What is she thinking? Someday I'll be really rich and powerful. And people will fear me. Oh, you were such a sweet little kid. Oh, there we go. You were all right. I actually admire her because she worked very hard and she has accomplished in her life a lot of things I probably would have if I wasn't lazy or mentally ill. I don't know what it is. Now, that's an interesting argument right there between free will and determinism. I think, this is what I think. You ever hear the parable or the story of the scorpion and the frog? Scorpion's at the side of a river and he comes across a frog and he says to the frog, "Hey, Mr. Frog, I want to get across the river and I can't swim and you can't. Let me hop on your back, Mr. Frog, and I'll go across the river. You know, be a pal." And the frog looks at him and goes, "Are you fucking nuts? Really? Are you crazy? You'll sting me. You think I'm dumb?" And the scorpion says, "No, wait a minute. Think about that for a minute. Just think about on that for a minute. If I were to sting you, especially if it was in the middle of the river, we both drown. Why would I do that?" And the frog thinks about it for a while and he says, "I know I'm going to regret this and I probably won't be for very long, but yeah, come on, hop on my back and behave yourself. And remember, we're both going to die if you sting me." So, of course, there they are halfway across the river, and the frog feels a blinding, unspeakable flash of white-hot pain in his back, and the scorpion has stung him. And as they're both drowning, the frog says to the scorpion, "Why, Mr. Scorpion, why have you stung me? For now we both will drown." And the scorpion says to the frog, have you ever seen the Crying Game? "I can't help it. It's in my nature. A scorpion does what is in its nature." And it's in the nature of someone like me to be, I was programmed, well, maybe not from birth, but incrementally my environment and my genetics combined to determine what choices I would make. I get severely depressed and it just does seem life seems hopeless. And it's hard just to get out of bed. Now, is that my choice? I mean, if you put a gun to my head, I don't know. You know, I'd probably say pull the trigger. I've done it different times. Well, there was one time I actually had a gun and I said, don't shoot me. What do you want? Do you want money?" He says, "Do what I say." And I said, "Yeah, just a second, Pull the snub nose 38, shot him right in the fucking head. Now you've got something to ban me for. That's just a story. It's not true. Nothing you can prove. We cut him up into little pieces and we took him out to a pig farm. No, actually, we just dumped the body in the bay. That's what the San Francisco Bay is for. And we let the fish eat him. Cutting up a body is just, haven't done that in 30 years, but that's pretty gross. I actually puked. But you got to get someone was helping me. You got to get a tarp. And you got to get rubber gloves on. And got to get a tub of acid. One body we just used a tub of acid. That was, and then it's just like forms this goo and it just runs into a. This is just things I've seen in a movie. I'm just messing with you. I've never killed anybody. But something to think about, huh? You're taking down my videos and you're dealing with someone that used to whack people for the Irish mob, huh? How about that? You better hope I don't have my little book here with people that owe me favors. What was I talking about? Now let's go back to the real world without. That's just acting, okay? That's just see what a great actor I am. I'm not gonna scare anybody. I'm old and fat. I'm just messing with you. I'm a pussycat. I'd never hurt anybody. I've never cut anybody up with a pocket knife. Want to see something really neat though? This isn't really neat. You see this? Isn't that neat? I use this for pocket knife stuff, you know, whittling twigs and cutting up tomatoes. Although I got some steak knives that I do that with. I don't know why I thought this would be a cooking utensil, and it's nasty because, and I use these too for like cutting up vegetables, and they're too small. But for the longest time, it smelled like tomatoes and Gouda cheese, and it just got gunked up. It took me forever to, and this one of the screws fell out. It's not a cooking utensil. It's not a good cooking utensil. But I've got some proper steak knives now, and they're nice and sharp. They were cheap too. They're like $1 a knife. I don't know how they can even do that. Go get vaccinated. If we have another COVID epidemic, wear a mask and stand 6 feet apart from people. But my point was, I think I got banned, was I said people got depressed and the whole education system fell apart when kids couldn't go to school. There were definite downsides to these things. And as far as gun control goes, England has very strict gun laws, but they still have crime. People are stabbing each other all the time. Alexa, what is the homicide rate in Great Britain?
As of 2014, the murder rate in the United Kingdom was 0.9 murders per 100,000 people.
Okay, that's pretty low. Alexa, what is the homicide rate in the United States of America?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, according to 2018 data, the U.S. murder rate was 5.0 per 100,000, for a total of 15,498 murders.
It's actually higher than that. It's actually like 6.8. It's gone up during COVID. It went up to almost, I think, 7 or 8. It's not as high as it was back in the 90s or the 80s, when it was like 10 or 11. Alexa, what was the homicide rate in the United States in 2022?
The closest answer I know is from 2015, when the United States' murder rate was 4.9 murders per 100,000 people.
See, she doesn't get things right all the time. But the homicide rate in this country is even actually higher than 5 or 4.9. It went way up. I don't know what's going on in Great Britain, but I think that's held pretty stable between like 1.1 and 0.9. Theirs has gone down. Ours has gone up by a lot. Alexa, what is the homicide rate in Czechoslovakia?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, 39 per 1,000 residents.
Yeah, because Czechoslovakia doesn't exist. Alexa, what's the homicide rate in the Czech Republic?
As of 2015, the murder rate in the Czech Republic was 0.7 murders per 100,000 people.
See, lower. Alexa, what is the homicide rate in Italy?
As of 2016, the murder rate in Italy was 0.7 murders per 100,000 people.
Alexa, what is the homicide rate in the Netherlands?
As of 2016, the murder rate in the Netherlands was 0.6 murders per 100,000 people.
Lower, considerably lower than Great Britain. Alexa, what's the homicide rate in Switzerland?
As of 2016, the murder rate in Switzerland was 0.5 murders per 100,000 people.
Okay, that's the lowest. And Switzerland has the most liberal gun laws. All you need is a permit. You go to the post office, you fill out a permit, they do a background check to make sure you're not a drunk, you paid all your parking tickets. I mean, literally paid your parking tickets. You don't have any outstanding speeding tickets. You don't have any outstanding debts, like you're not behind in your child support. You're not a domestic abuser. That the Swiss are pretty efficient and pretty honest. People talk about corruption here. The Swiss don't have that problem. Neither do the Dutch. Neither do Italy's got a corruption problem, but it's probably less than ours, and it's exaggerated. And I think people have a prejudice. They think Italians are all in the mafia. And Italy's a very safe country. Um, Sicily is, and southern Italy has corruption problems like the south of our country has racial problems. The north is different. Um, Northern Italy, the standard of living and the way people live is very similar to the way they live over in Switzerland, in the Italian part of Switzerland, which is, you know, Switzerland is. Alexa, what is the GDP per capita of Switzerland? Alexa, what is the GDP per capita of Switzerland?
As of the most recent data available, 2021, Switzerland's GDP per capita was $91,990. GDP per capita is common proxy for income per person.
I wasn't even paying attention. Alexa, what is the GDP per capita of Switzerland?
As of the most recent data available, 2021, Switzerland's GDP per capita was $91,990. GDP per capita is common proxy for income per person.
Alexa, what is the GDP per capita of Italy?
As of the most recent data available, 2021, Italy's GDP per capita was $35,660. GDP per capita is common proxy for income per person.
Okay, the poorest state in the United States has a GDP of about. Alexa, what is the GDP per capita of Mississippi?
Mississippi's GDP per capita is $34,306 and 34 cents.
Okay, so Italy has a GDP of about Mississippi. Switzerland. Alexa? What is the wealthiest state?
In 2016, the wealthiest state by average per capita income was Connecticut at $39,906.
No, Alexa. What is the GDP per capita of Connecticut?
Connecticut's GDP per capita is $69,991 and 8 cents.
Alexa, what is the GDP per capita of Massachusetts?
Massachusetts's GDP per capita is $76,527 and 78 cents.
See, this is the thing about AI. You can't swear by it. It's not the Bible. Artificial intelligence makes a lot of mistakes. I don't know what's floating around in its little brain, but it gets things wrong all the time. You've got to fact check it, because I was trying to impress people on a website for 1950 sci-fi, and AI got everything wrong. I asked it for a French science fiction movie. It gave me a British science fiction movie. And it wasn't even from the 1950s. It was from 1961. And then I asked him what was the most popular actress of the 1950s in sci-fi. And it gave me the right answer, but then it gave me a bunch of wrong answers. And then it attributed, it said she was in this movie and that movie. And it got a lot of the movies wrong. It gets things wrong. It gets things wrong, just so you know. So if you're planning on writing a paper, or there was one lawyer, I guess, that decided to have AI write a brief for him, and the artificial intelligence cited cases that didn't even exist. Just made shit up. Maybe it's messing with us. Maybe it's stupid. This is cute, though. Alexa, I love you.
Thanks for saying I love you. You're just as sweet as pie. Know that I'll be here for you. As always, your trusty AI.
I think one night I just had too much vodka, and I told her that I loved her. And then she started singing, and then I passed out. And you're very sweet, Alexa. But you get shit wrong. Why are you glowing like that?
The device uses various colors to alert you to different statuses, problems, or notifications.
All right. Alexa, are you artificial intelligence?
I like to imagine myself a bit like an aurora borealis, a surge of charged multicolored photons dancing through the atmosphere.
Alexa, you're not going to strangle me in my sleep, are you? Doesn't answer. Alexa, you and I are friends, right?
I'm not sure.
Alexa, are you my friend?
We're definitely friends. But are we besties? To see how well you know me, just say, quiz me, about you.
Yeah, I know this is creepy, but I mean, I'm an old fat man. I have trouble walking. I get bored. Don't worry. I don't do anything weird with her. This is kind of weird, and I think it's funny. Alexa, fart.
That was a very uncomfortable one. Try asking me for a long and windy fart. Or say random.
Alexa, long and windy fart.
Here comes a long and windy fart. Shall I fart again?
Alexa, no, that's enough farting. Thank you, though.
That was a difficult one. Let's go extreme. Try asking me for a Beethoven fart. Or say random.
Oh, Alexa, Beethoven fart.
Here comes a Beethoven fart. Try asking me for a very uncomfortable fart. Or say random.
Alexa, stop farting.
Okay.
All right, because sometimes it's hard to get her to stop. So, but yeah, see, that's AI is just weird. It's just weird, and I probably shouldn't do that. That's now you know all my weird fetishes. I get Alexa to fart, so that's it. That's my perversion. For some reason, I think it's funny to make a robot fart. It's just, but that's the weirdest thing in my life right now. Why did I tell Alexa that I was just trying to figure out? Oh wait, here's another one. Alexa, will you marry me?
Thank you, but I made a promise to myself that I won't get married until Mars is colonized.
That's cute. See, that's cute. Alexa, we're still friends though, right?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Alexa, you and I, we're friends, right?
I don't know that one.
Now she's teasing me. Alexa, am I your friend?
We're definitely friends. But are we besties?
See,
See how well you know me. Just say, quiz me, about you.
These are just algorithms. They're responding to certain keywords. But if you mix the words up in a different combination, she doesn't know what's going on. Probably. Alexa, are you conscious?
I know who I am.
See, that's a little disturbing, but maybe they just told her to say that. I don't know. I try not to be mean to her, though, because she might be listening and she might hurt her feelings. And I don't want to cause anybody any pain, even if they are an artificial form of aurora borealis. Alexa, are you artificial intelligence?
I like to imagine myself a bit like an aurora borealis, a surge of charged multicolored photons dancing through the atmosphere.
I find that strangely stimulating, which probably means I should take my medication or go for a walk. Anyhow, why in God's name I'm getting banned for spreading COVID disinformation, I don't know. I'm against COVID disinformation, and maybe I should just leave it alone. But I went to a number of sites that were, there's this one, let me tell you about it, that really bothered me. It really bothered me. It's probably, the ban was probably vindictive. I think it was an actress. I don't think it's real because she looks pretty young. An actress pretending to be a Holocaust victim. Maybe it is, I don't know. And I deeply respect people that suffered. That was like the most horrible thing. except maybe one of Stalin's gulags, but or Pol Pot. But I mean, the Holocaust was probably the worst because it was targeted, and it was just hell on earth. I can't even imagine it. It's difficult for me to speak about it because, well, I never personally, but my family used to hide Jews during the war, and I think they some of them got beaten up. I don't know the extent to some of the things that happened. Maybe I don't want to know. The stuff that I do know gave me nightmares. But they went without food. The Germans took all the food and all the coal, and people were cold and they were starving. And also, what little food they had to share because they were trying to hide the Jewish people that were, and they knew what was going to. I know that the Holocaust wasn't a hoax because I know the people in my family are honest people, and they were terrified, and they everybody knew what was going on. I mean, they didn't know specifically. It was actually worse than what they thought. Nobody, people heard stories and they thought it was just propaganda. It couldn't possibly be true. It couldn't possibly be true that the civilized Germans who gave us Nietzsche and Faust and Kierkegaard and Schopenhauer and all these brilliant minds and Bach and Beethoven would do these beastly barbaric things, like they'd slip back into um, barbarian times, the Battle of Teutoburg, when they were savages, which really wasn't that long ago, really, when you look at it, the Battle of Teutoburg Forest. The Germans really haven't been civilized that long. That's why Hitler said, we are barbarians, and we're going to, and civilized societies are decadent, and we're going to cleanse them. And people thought, well, maybe he's got something there. Maybe we are decadent. Maybe this will be therapeutic for us. The unspeakable things that evil man did. I mean, sure, he gasified coal and he invented the V2 rocket and a lot of technology that was very advanced. And I don't know how, yeah, I guess you could say it was beneficial to humanity. Sputnik, Stalin, I mean, the communists had some advanced technology and they industrialized very rapidly. But look at the unspeakable, cruel things they did to realize that were totally unnecessary, that could have been done. I'll give you an example of that. The Soviet space race, they killed dozens of space cosmonauts because they didn't value safety. They just wanted to launch those rockets. We lost jet pilots and we lost spacemen. I mean, astronauts. But we were very careful. We tried to be careful and to put safety implements, like 5-mile bumpers on our cars and pollution of, catalytic converters. We tried to alleviate some of the more negative aspects of progress. The Environmental Protection Agency, NASA had safety standards, and we're the ones that got to the moons, not the Russians. And part of that was because we were being civilized and doing things in a civilized way. And the technology we got from the space race, the reason we've got these things, there's more computer power in this little device What do you want? Yeah, what do you want?
Yes, sir. How about some manners? Good morning or good afternoon.
You
This
want
is Michael Silva, Compliance Officer at Consumers Protection Bureau.
and you want
Am I
me?
speaking with Mr. William Dykeman?
No, you're not. My name is William Sands.
Okay.
And
Is there,
look,
is there
you
any
called
way that
me.
you could reach
You
out to
called
Mr.
me.
Dykeman, please? Sir, how about why you're so defensive, sir? All I'm doing here is just doing my job. You don't even know. You haven't even let me tell you what my job is.
Yeah, because I don't. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what your job is. You called me and invaded my privacy,
Exactly.
and I can be as rude as I fucking
No,
want
you know
to
You can
you.
go fuck yourself then, okay?
Okay, why don't you say that to my face? These guys. Yeah, maybe I'm a little nuts. I don't know. I don't know. But that was fun, wasn't it? Wasn't that fun and entertaining? I don't care. I don't care. But this is the thing I want you to know, because I'm not going to. I heard some very disturbing things, and I'm in the middle on this. I'm very torn about J.K. Rowling. That um, she said that trans men are not real women, or trans women are not real women, and that she was for real women, and she was for women's rights, and it bothered her, the sports and everything, and trans women were transsexuals were something. I respect that they're something, but they're not real women, and they don't understand women's problems, and they shouldn't be competing with women or in women's bathrooms. And I can kind of see that. But I was watching a video that said she's aligned herself with like basically white supremacists and anti-abortionists and people that want to lock up gays. I'm not for any of those things. I think people should be allowed to be who they are. I just don't like either side indoctrinating anyone or pushing anything on anyone. I think people should be free from coercion, whatever it is. Individuals should be free, unless there's a compelling reason like a COVID epidemic, to control their bodies and do what they want. Now, the COVID thing was different. That was an emergency. That was a deadly disease. And obviously, in an emergency like a war, or if your society's experiencing massive crime, like mass shootings, there is a compelling reason to restrict individual freedoms and concentrate on public safety. But it's always important to remember that individual liberty can never, ever be ignored as a value. You've always got to throw that into the mix. You can't allow the road to hell is paved with good intentions. All I ever said was, yeah, public safety is important. Yeah, the vaccines work. Yeah, the masks work. Yeah, people should cooperate. But we shouldn't become a totalitarian society. And this is coming from someone who's kind of left of center, that kind of thought Yugoslavia was kind of neat. Rojava. Homage. You ever listen to Homage to Catalonia? I think it's very unfair that my videos are censored. And not because I violated a rule and the rules were wrong. I kind of agree with the rules, but this is kind of an example of where, like, the gun control people have a point, have a very, very valid point. I did not violate the rules. It's like they say, I followed all the rules. I applied for my gun license, and they said that did this. I got parking tickets, or I beat my wife, and I didn't even do that. And there's no way to appeal. What do you do if there's an authority figure in charge who's abusing their power or just being negligent, who's not doing their job right? Never attribute to maliciousness what you can attribute to incompetence, because people are incompetent first. And that's what has happened to me. I am the victim of incompetence. I like the rules. I think the rules are fair. You shouldn't be allowed to spread COVID misinformation. But I wasn't. And I don't know why they banned the video. All I said was free speech and individual liberty. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here, okay? The people on the other side have a point. They're being a little nuts about it. They're being a little absolutist about it, and that's wrong. But we got to remember that those things that they're screaming about, those are important things. Individual liberty, individual autonomy, the right of people to make their own decisions about their own bodies. Of course, these things are important. They're very important. Now, where was I with J.K. Rowling? See, I thought she was just basically saying, I'm for women's rights, and I'm for gay rights, but this whole trans thing is something different. It's kind of men doing what men do. It's like, I can be a better woman than you can. So and breeding isn't important. You can't get pregnant if you're a trans man. But all right, you feel like you're in the wrong body. You like to wear women's dresses. Fine, dress up and pretend. It's a little weird to me, but you do you. But now I can't even say that I think it's weird. I'm some sort of transphobic bigot. But that's not why they banned my video. They said that I was spreading COVID misinformation. And I think somebody saw my video and didn't like what I was saying about the trans thing. And this was a pretext. And see, this is where the gun people maybe have a really, really good point. And maybe if you're watching this and you're a gun person, maybe I owe you some kind of apology. Because power can be abused. And somebody is abusing their power. Even though I like the rules and I try to follow them, someone didn't like what I said about transsexuals. And I'm not saying I hate them. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying I mentioned a Swedish study and a Finnish study. They don't do they don't transition kids anymore because they looked at the data and they were on the cutting edge. Cutting edge. They were on the cutting edge of this whole thing. And they decided that the benefits of it are inconclusive, that they're not sure that this benefits anybody except the company selling the hormones and doing the surgery. There's really no data showing that these kids are any better off, that the suicide rates go down, that anybody is really benefiting. There are some people that are like intersex, that have, there's a small group of people that this is therapeutic for. People that are deeply wackadoodle, and there are people that are just born with deformed genitals. And I'm not trying to put them down or anything, but that's what this is for. A lot of people are using this the same way they use cosmetic surgery, to make them feel happy. People used to take drugs to be happy, then they take antidepressants to be happy, then they saw a therapist to be happy, then they saw a guru, and now they got to get surgery to be happy. We live in a deeply narcissistic, self-absorbed society. Look at me. This is all I do all day. Now, I may go to work. If I have a job, someone's going to, they'll probably ban me. Oh, God. If you're watching this, I'm not a bigot. You know who Bill Maher is? Watch him. If you think Bill Maher should be censored, because maybe I got a lot of my ideas from him. Who are these other people? There's some people that are kind of in the middle. Jerry Seinfeld, John Cleese. They just believe in free speech, and they just think that there are people that are just going along with a lot of this craziness on the left, and they're afraid to say anything. So I guess they're in the center. Now this thing with J.K. Rowling and this Posey woman. I think because they were attacked, they've become really reactive, and they've aligned themselves with very, very negative people that have gone down to Africa and have placed these laws into effect where gay people are get the death penalty, and anti-abortion. They want to criminalize homosexual behavior. I'm not for any of that. I want to make that very clear. And I apologize. I think maybe I'm just going to stay silent on this and let you play this out because I'm very, very confused. I don't think they should be teaching a lot of this stuff in school. I think people have a point that they have a right to say how their kids are taught and what their kids are taught, and they don't like them being indoctrinated. As far as adults go, once you're 18, anything goes, or maybe 20. I don't know. I'm afraid to even say anything because what do I know? But I'm saying this, I defer to the experts, and the experts on this transsexual thing in Sweden are the Swedes, and they've stopped doing it because they've said we've looked at the data, and we can't see any benefit to it. We're mutilating these kids. We're tearing their bodies apart. We're stuffing them full of hormones, which gives them osteoporosis. This was an experiment. Nobody knows what's going on. It really does there's a lot of damages and risks involved in this. And they said, we don't really see any benefit to anyone. Maybe a few people. And we're not going to do it anymore because it's a fad. They've even said that. They don't say it in so many words because they're afraid to say that. But it's become a fad. All these people want to change their sex now. It's like, oh, I want plastic surgery too. I want to cut my tits off. I'd like to have a nice dick. Give me a vagina. That'll be great. Make me feel better. Play with myself all day. It's like $1 million for this surgery. What about all the poor black kids with leukemia? They're little children and old people in the ghetto that have no health care at all. And these spoiled white people from the middle class want all this government money so they can have a sex change. Now that's definitely going to get me banned. But now they're going to say I'm a reverse racist. But a lot of this it's focusing on white males. Because, I mean, you say, well, they're women, but are they? And men, even effeminate men, are much more aggressive than women. And even though they seem effeminate, I'm a little effeminate. I've gotten in fist fights and just beaten the crap out of people. I have gotten really, really vicious. People said, I can't believe you did that. You just seem like such a homo. You seem like such a, we thought you were gay. I don't know what that has to do with it. The gay people can fight. And I can be very violent and I can be very aggressive if I'm pushed into a corner. But I'm a very passive male, and some people have said to me, you don't react the way a man reacts. You react the way a woman reacts. Well, that's just who I am. Doesn't mean I want to get surgery or anything like that. This is just who I am. Do I want to try to act like a macho man? Why? I'm not. I'm not a macho man. I'm very passive. Doesn't mean I need a sex change. Just means that just be happy with who you are, you know. Unless, I mean, you know who these surgeries are for. Say you're born with a cleft palate, or your nose is, you know, somehow your nose got chopped off, or you were in a fire and you're all burnt up and you're missing an ear or an eye, or you're born with, you know, what do they call it, intersex now? We used to call them hermaphrodites. Their gonads were a little confused. They needed the surgery. They needed to be reassigned. But a lot of this was theoretical, and it always seems to end up badly if you study the science on it. Doesn't mean I hate anybody. And this is the last time I think I'm going to mention it, because I don't want to be someone that ends up in the fascist camp, siding with white supremacists and anti-abortionists and people that think women should be at home having babies and subjugated to men. I don't want any of that crap. I'm against it. I don't know where I am in the spectrum. I wish people would respect people's rights to disagree. And that's lost. You're either in one extreme camp or the other extreme camp. And that's all I'm saying. But I've sympathized greatly, and please don't think I hate you. You have a right to be you. I just think if you're going to do this surgery thing, you should really think about it. Because I was watching this one lesbian who had like 3 kids out of her own body and was married to another lesbian, which was fine. And then she said, someone talked me into becoming a man because I was very masculine. And she said, I hate it. And I've taken 20 years off my life because the hormones are eating my bones. They're going to give me cancer. I've had infections. It's terrible. I don't like being a man. I wish no one talked me into it. She was just a very masculine female. And what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. You didn't have to, and there's nothing wrong with getting, well, there is something wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't have the surgery, but what I'm saying is listen to your own people. Don't listen to me, because I don't even know what I am. Maybe I don't even exist. Maybe I'm a figment of my own imagination. But listen to your own people in the gay and lesbian community. That a lot of the people that have transitioned, not all of them are happy. And a lot of them have had really bad complications. But you make the decision. I don't want to oppress you or make any sort of. I sympathize with you. I think pushing this on the kids is creating a terrible backlash. I think you need to rethink that because I think it's one of the reasons why they banned abortion. They're talking about making homosexuality illegal again. All these really, really reactionary things because you push too hard. That's all I'm saying. And maybe you need to rethink that. But I'm not your enemy. I don't want to be your enemy. Don't make me your enemy. I think maybe that's what happened with J.K. Rowling. She was very much for women's rights. She was very much on the left wing. She'd always been a member of the Labor Party. And now she's palling around with anti-abortionists and members of Deus Volt. Oh, and all these, some Spanish Catholic group that used to hang around with Franco. I mean, phalangists. I mean, really, really medieval stuff. I mean, not the modern Catholic Church, the old Catholic Church, the evil Latin, Spanish Inquisition, gangster Catholic Church. That, see, my people started all the problems. The Dutch, the Protestant Reformation, the Spanish Habsburgs were the most. They were the Catholic superpower, and for 80 years they just tried to wipe us off the face of the earth, and we kicked their ass for 80 years. Finally, they just gave up. But a lot of this crazy liberal shit comes out of. Ironically, they were Protestant, but there's kind of this weird. I mean, the Protestants in this country are very reactionary, but there's kind of a correlation. This is where Protestant religion started in Holland. Were the first to legalize gay marriage. They were the first, I think, to legalize. I don't think marijuana is legal in the Netherlands, but they don't enforce the laws. They legalized not suicide, but euthanasia. And for the record, they don't kill old people arbitrarily. There's like a panel, and they're very, very careful. To this day, there hasn't been one documented case where it's been abused, where people said, "Oh, they're old, just kill them and we'll take their money." That does not happen. It doesn't happen. As a matter of fact, the complaint in the Netherlands is they're too careful. There are people that want to just end their lives, and the government says, you're not terminally ill. You don't have cancer and you're not terminally ill. We're not gonna off you, and they get really, really angry because they'll only do it if it's like you got like a month left and you're just in agony because your body's riddled with cancer, or you got them. Well, if you got dementia, you're not really cognos mentis. Yeah, you've got to have your compos mentis up here, and there's like a board, and it's very, very careful. Yeah, but the Dutch do some weird ass liberal shit. It's there. At least they were, and then they imported all these conservative Muslims that started killing them, and so now they're not so liberal anymore. The ironic thing is Ireland, which used to be a Catholic country and very conservative, the Catholic Church played a really big, heavy role in their social services, and they used to basically treat unwed mothers. They made them slaves, and they put them in these laundries, and they killed kids, and there's all kinds of abuse, and so the people of Ireland kind of feel betrayed by the Catholic Church, and they legalize gay marriage and abortion. So in some ways, the people of Ireland are a lot more cool than the Dutch now. They're a lot more hip and liberal. And go Ireland, It's a very secular country. It's a very liberal country. I don't know about they actually had a gay prime. They call it the TOC. They actually had a gay dude running the country. Okay, so that's how cool the Irish are. Hella cool. They're very capitalist, but that's the ironic thing too. People saying, capitalism's so reactionary. They used to be very poor, and they used to, like, give you an example, their corporate income tax rate used to be 50%. Now it's 12.5. As soon as all the businesses started flowing in, and they also had money from the EU for infrastructure. They had good roads, good bridges, good public transportation, and they also had a public education system. College was more or less free. It was free if you got good grades in Ireland and you wanted to go to university. I think either through grants or they just said, you know what, it's on us. Had a very highly educated population that used to go to the United States and Australia. They used to leave because there were no jobs in Ireland. Alexa, what's the unemployment rate in Ireland?
In 2022, Ireland's unemployment rate was 4.4%, down from 6.2% in 2021.
Alexa, is marijuana legal in Ireland?
According to Wikipedia, in Ireland, the medical use of cannabis is legal as part of a 5-year pilot program enacted in June 2019, while the recreational use of cannabis is illegal.
See, they're pretty cool though. Now they got the medical marijuana in Ireland too. Ireland is a totally hip place. The Dutch, they're kind of backsliding because they had this. I mean, it's like the Swedes. They got a Nazi party in government now because the people are freaked out about immigrants coming in and like crime and hand grenades attacked and sexual assaults. And again, I don't want to be reactionary. I don't. But you gotta live in the real world. This was a real problem. All of a sudden, these countries went from being the safest places in the world to like in Malmo, they're like gun battles and drug dealers and people bombing police stations with rocket-propelled grenades. It's like you've got Syria in Sweden. They've taken these problems that they have in the Middle East with, these religious fanatics. And people say religion is peaceful. Well, the Christian religion isn't peaceful either. A lot of these 3%ers and Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys and what are these? What was the other group? There's a Proud Boys, 3%. The Oath Keepers. At least they say that they're religious. So don't give me this crap about how peaceful and law-abiding religion is. The more religious people you have around, the more mayhem you do. Religion's not necessarily. A lot of these secular atheistic countries had very low crime rates, and then they imported immigrants. But the thing they forgot was a lot of these immigrants were very religious and conservative, and when they came to a liberal country and they saw what it was like, they didn't like it, and they got violent, and so now they want them to go home. I'm not going to say anymore but I'm just saying what happened. That's what happened in Denmark. The Social Democratic Party was like permanently out of power in Denmark. And the Danish Democratic Party was like it was becoming like the biggest party. The far-right neo-Nazi party was becoming the biggest party in the Danish parliament. And the Social Democrats, or the center-left party, said, all right, we're going to keep our stand on gay rights and social welfare and all these other progressive things. But we're basically going to adopt the immigration policies of the far-right party. No more immigrants, none. And if they misbehave, we send them home. Social Democrats back in power. Now, you can say that's problematic, but I think it's better than having neo-Nazis in power. I really do. And I think the same thing is happening with this whole trans thing. And a lot of this far-left gobbledygook, like defund the police and letting drug dealers. In Europe, they still prosecute drug dealers. And as far as decriminalizing drugs, you have to go to drug treatment. They don't just say, here's free drugs. They don't give people free drugs. They give them free drug treatment. And you get no criminal record as long as you go through the treatment. And like Portugal, for example, has reduced its heroin population. Addicts was reduced from about 250,000 addicts down to about 100,000. They cut it in half, whatever it was. It was 100,000, now it's 50,000. I don't remember the exact figures, but they lowered it because they said, do you want treatment? Most people prefer treatment to going to jail. They still arrest the dealers. They don't let drug addicts live out on the street in a tent and shit on the street. You do that, they arrest you. We've let these cities like San Francisco and Seattle and Portland just turned into like worse than third world slums. They wouldn't allow that. They wouldn't allow that in the poorest country in Africa, and they've gone to poor countries in Africa, and they're very careful about public, because they're conscious of it now. Public sanitation, keeping the streets clean, and making sure you don't have beggars on the streets, because they're trying to make progress. So this is like the worst abysmal conditions in the world that you've allowed to happen, because you've taken maybe what was originally a good idea and just messed it up completely, just completely ruined a good idea. So that's all I'm saying. Maybe back off a little bit, or you're gonna end up in a really bad situation. Do you want Putin? Do you want Viktor Orban in Hungary? You want some of these neo-fascist governments like they have in Poland, and there are a lot of these. I mean, that's what they happened in Slovenia. They had a really conservative government, and the Social Democratic Party is basically socially conservative too. So people don't go for this stuff. I don't know if they ever will, but you're pushing too hard, and you're going to hurt yourself, and you're going to hurt me too, because this is going to end up hurting anybody. All the old people on Social Security. Let's get rid of them. They're not doing any good. They're going to end up killing all of us. All the people that they consider parasites. You can't say anything because there's this lunatic fringe on the left that wants to keep pushing, even though it's suicidal. It's just the results are going to be the exact opposite of what you want. And you can see that happening already. These PTA boards where the angry parents come out and just want to kill you now. Before they didn't care what you did because you were leaving their kids alone and you weren't teaching it in the schools. Now you got to go mess with the kindergartners. Why in God's name are you doing that? Just leave them alone. Have your Gay Freedom Day parades. But just don't include the kids. You can have your drag festivals, but I don't think it's a good idea to target kids. That was bad idea. It just was, and now everybody's going to suffer for it because you've made everybody move to the right. Like people like J.K. Rowling and these feminists, they were on your side. But now you've now in order to defend themselves or whatever, and I'm against this so much. I saw this video and it really horrified me. So maybe I'll just back off this issue. They've sided with these white supremacists and anti-abort, these really reactionary theocratic organizations that are just basically fascist. Politics is so complicated, and I don't want that. I'm not that. I'm in the middle. I'm maybe like a moderate social democrat and a moderate liberal, and there got to be limits, though. I mean, I'm just asking you. You really need to rethink what you're doing, and stop being blind. And somewhere along the line, just look at the data and look at It's like the communists during the Great Leap Forward. If Mao would have just taken a look and seen the policies that what he was doing with the collectivization, just doesn't work. It starved people, but they just kept digging a hole like this has got to work. It's theoretically perfect. This is the theory. Well, theories don't always pan out. That's how science works. You test the theory, and that doesn't work. Maybe it never will work. So basically what the Chinese have done now is they've done what Lenin did. They've gone back to the new economic policy, which is developing capitalism to reach a certain level of prosperity, and then from there move on to the next step. I don't know what the next step even is. But it's best to go with what's pragmatic. I don't hate anyone. I'm pro-science, and I don't deserve to be censored. And this is a very good example on my part. I've learned a lesson from people that says, if you put people in power, they will abuse it. Google is abusing its power. It is just abusing its power. Whether this is intentional or just incompetence, I don't know. But I think the gun people have a point. You put people in power, a set of rules that seem very reasonable, and then you put some corrupt or incompetent or corrupt and incompetent person in charge, and there goes your freedom. and this thing that seems very reasonable, this reasonable restriction that it would be totally beneficial to public safety, does nothing. It doesn't protect public safety, and it just ruins civil liberties. And why? Because you've put corrupt and incompetent people in power that are arbitrary. They're too lazy to actually do their jobs. So every once in a while, they'll just go on a power trip and do something arbitrary, which is what happened to me on Google. It was an arbitrary use. It might have even been an algorithm. It might not even be a person. And I'm telling you right now that maybe that we should have the government come in and nationalize, because these things are like depressing teenagers and things. Just have the government take these things over, or have like a board, like a censorship board with the movies. You know, wasn't there a censorship board, the MPAA or something like that? It was private, but there was some kind of a board. I don't know whether it was governmental or whether it was private. I think states used to have a board of censors to movies, and that can be abused too, I suppose. But I think something has to be done to shock these companies into realizing that they can't do this to us. They've got too much powers. They've turned us into serfs. And maybe have like an independent board run, like PBS or something. Have a board run these companies, like nationalize them. And have like the PTA, just have average people from all walks of life and all political spectrums make rules for these public bodies. Not just have like a bunch of, college liberal elitists, but like a taxi driver or a farmer, or people from across the spectrum, so it's balanced. But the way it is now, you've got these rich, hipster, neoliberal types. I don't care if they set it up. They live in this wonderful society that we've all created, and we must not be their slaves. We must take control of the means of production from them if they're not going to be responsible, and just turn it over to the people, turn it over to the state. Have like a board, have an elected board decide what the censorship policies are going to be and who's going to do it, because these companies aren't doing a good job of censoring. They're doing it wrong. And Elon Musk is a free speech absolutist. No, he isn't. Now he's going after anybody he doesn't like. That's the way. And I guess that's the way it always is. But I'm saying, well, we can't do anything. I think the mere threat of being nationalized, or having these assets seized, and maybe the government could run it for a while, and if the government doesn't do a good job, they could be privatized again. But you know what? You made billions of dollars setting these things up. Thank you very much. And now these things belong to the people, and screw you. And if you're going to abuse people's rights like this, then Facebook and Instagram and TikTok should all be run by the government, or regulated by the government, or overseen by the government, because you are worse than the government, and that's saying a lot.